Hello, engineers. Welcome again to my second lecture. So, actually, this is not part of our syllabus. However, I'm reintegrating this back again to our lecture so that you will have this foundation knowledge on how to use AI-based tools to help you in programming. So, again, our course outcome remains the same. So it's for you to be able to write your own Python programs that will simulate real world solutions. Again, I'm using this word simulate because although we are trying to create projects, but we are not yet solving these really complex problems that we have in our society. So it's just using our foundational knowledge to really have this grasp, no, on this Python programming experience. So our learning outcomes for this specific lecture is for you to use large language model. So it's LLM. No, these are services that helps you code, document, and debug programs efficiently. So you should be able to demonstrate effective usage of LLM-based services in solving programming solutions. So I've been talking about LLMs, no? So later on, we will explore a bit of its technicality and we'll jump on how to really leverage and make use of these technologies for the benefit of us programmers. So in this lecture, we will be defining what LLMs are, uh, some overview on prompting, and pair programming using AI. So before we continue, so let's have a formal understanding of the technologies that are available right now. Diba? The more aware we are with these technologies, so basically, we are more informed on how to use this effectively. Because if we don't have an idea, so we might just think it's just magic there, kabahala na, as long as it will generate the result that I want. Uh, in this formal setting, so we need to have this formal idea on how these technologies work, no? Just a surface level idea so that we can really make most of these technologies. So transformers are not that not those machines, no, that can robots that can transform, no, or maybe the transformers that are used in electricity, but somehow it uses the same analogy, no. So basically, these are still programs, no. These are technologies or software that are capable of transforming a specific representation of an object and it can convert it into another it can transform it into another representation. So when we say state of the art accuracy, so it basically means that it is the latest, the most advanced technology that we have right now. So the field of computer science that are dealing with transformers is a very active research discipline right now. So we have this visualization of the bottom part of the slide. So we have these different boxes. We have the input, the encoder, the decoder, and the output boxes, but it follows this uh, straightforward process. No, basically the technologies, the chat, GPT, Gemini, and other technologies that we are using, no, Sora and the apps, no, that we have on our smartphones, basically use this technology embedded, no, in these services. So you can prompt, you can tell these applications, no, nga, generate me an essay, create a summary, create a video. You are prompting the services to do something out of your idea, no? And somehow it generates a result, no? Like somebody is doing it for you. So it works like magic, but it's just mathematics underneath. So basically, transformers can have different inputs. No, it can be textual, images, documents, and numbers as well. But we'll not go into the technical details on how these things are being converted. No, but anyway, on the surface level, you can drag and drop. You can type no on this software, and underneath are these encoder that interprets this series of data and also try to translate or decode the things that you want to do to be able to generate the output that you want. So right now we have the technologies to be able to generate music, to create pictures, videos, and other textual representations no, that we want. However, the main purpose of this slide is for you to be able to use or leverage these technologies to help you in your programming experience. So when we talk about large language models, so these are transformer-based models. So kato siyang encoder, decoder, no? Models. So these are trained on large sets of data. So that's why the large there, no? Because it's a very complex model, a mathematical model that basically runs on this very high-end computers, no? And requires higher resources, no, higher end GPUs, multiple sets of them, no, maybe thousands, if not hundreds, and it's really eating a lot of electricity because these are computers. So it can consume multimedia files, no, that was fed on it, and it depends on what data were trained on it. Uh, in a way nga you can it can generate another output no based on those training data that were fed on it. So basically this overarching uh, technology is under artificial intelligence. So basically this is a field of science, no, computer science, that is focused on computer systems, programs that allows them to think humanly, think rationally, act humanly, or act rationally. And we have this specific subfield, machine learning. So machine learning is just a subset of AI. Diba? Uh, we have these buzzwords going on the internet, AI, 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 and so on. But this AI is the discipline, the field, no, of computer science. But the things that we are actually interacting with are the output of this field. So we have this subfield, machine learning. So it's more focused on algorithms. But right now you're already familiar with algorithms. These are procedures. These are programs. No? However, this special type of machine learning, no, it is more focused on statistical models without explicit programming. So it is no longer the same with the things we do that input this one, perform calculation, display it. So it is much more complex. That's why I've been sharing you about TensorFlow, PyTorch, because basically those things automate the mathematical computation underneath. Then we have this, it's not actually newer, no, but it's a more specific type of artificial intelligence, a subset of machine learning that simulates how human brain works. No, it uses multiple strategies, multiple technologies, both physical no? And also on the software aspect, again, to simulate how human mind works. So that is deep learning. So that is where LLMs are found. So that is in deep learning. So we have right now we have multiple LLMs available. So this is no longer limited on these things, no? So this slide was actually originally created about 2 years ago, maybe just 1 year or 2 years ago. And right now we have this uh, burst of new apps, new technologies available for you to use. So the most popular is this GPT models, Chat GPT. We have this image, text to image, text to video, and so on. No? Basically, it uses the same technologies behind on their servers. So we have this Google Gemini, we have Meta Llama, and other technologies as well. No, so again, you are not limited into ChatGPT. We have Perplexity, and we have more specialized programs where we can make most. No, we have DeepSeek and other things, but just to keep it simpler, no, ChatGPT, in my experience, is far more easier to work with programming because Gemini tends you to give this complex solution for a very simple nga problem. Now, if you want to have this straightforward experience, so ChatGPT is already enough for you to explore, to learn programming as a beginner. Okay, so we have this chat GPT by OpenAI. So as you can see, this is still an older version. No? So we have more recent versions of chat GPT, more smarter, more faster. And again, I will be teaching you how to make most of these AI-based tools to help you in your programming experience. So basically, this is the interface of Gemini. No, I'm sorry for that typo. So we have Google Gemini, but again, I advise you, no, if you are still starting out in programming and want support from an AI, so I recommend using ChatGPT over Gemini. So Gemini tend to give you very, very complex solutions, no, that would be hard for a new programmer. So so we have this different technology, but these specific technologies offer different safeguarding mechanisms. So, diba? In my previous slide, I shared to you that these companies are scraping data from the internet, and we know the internet is a space. No, it is a very large space where a lot of different types of data are being stored or are accessible. No, it can be good data, bad data in terms of its ethical aspects. No, or maybe misinformation, it can be vulgar in form, and thus these technologies may present us with different levels of falsehood, no? The informations that are incorrect, toxicity, depending on the vulgarity of the contents that it has been trained on, harmfulness. Now, there are instances that these technologies might generate information that may cause harm to the holistic aspect of a human being. So we'll not go deeper into that and other inappropriate information or data that can be presented to you. So again, these companies are providing safety measures, however, it is not fail-safe there. So you are still the one who will be deciding, no, if you will be using that data or not. So again, since these tools are being trained on a large sets of data, no, and this is just a software. No software is 100% perfect. So we have this term hallucination, no, where it tries to generate a somewhat grammatically correct response, but on a deeper sense, it is sharing incorrect data, incorrect information, no? Or maybe nonsensical semantics, nonsensical information, and entirely fabricated responses. Diba? If we're saying Jose Rizal was the first person to land on the moon, so it is written correctly. However, we know that the information is not right. So there are instances that these technologies might present you data that in the same way with my example. To be able to solve this, no, there are a lot of ways to create better prompting. So, but the essential way is to really to be clear and and ask for more clarification, and also to really able to check other necessary resources as well. So our goal is not to fully depend on AI. Our goal is just to leverage AI not to improve our productivity. So AI is already here, no? So we'll just make use of the technology that it is presenting. So let's proceed with prompt engineering and how we can improve our prompting skills. So prompt engineering, so it involves crafting prompts. So it's improving how we command these technologies, not to be able to really leverage the power of these technologies, not to quickly, di ba? Our goal as fast as possible, we want to solve issues, to generate what we want, no? To really quickly get the desired response with higher accuracy and relevance. So that is prompt engineering. So maybe you've been using ChatGPT and other technologies now to create essays, to create your assignments or whatever. But our goal here is to use these technologies for software development, for programming, to generate the code for us, no? Or to find solution in software development, to fix bugs, no? To improve the efficiency of our code, to simplify our code, to beautify our code. You know, these AI tools, no, can really help aid us in programming. So as you can see, it is available in Google Colab, but majority of you are somewhat misusing it, no? So the goal is for you to be the expert. I mean, not really the expert in programming, but for you to be the person who will solve the problem. But the AI is just a tool for you to speed up that software development process. So I mean, don't put the problem solving skills on AI. So we must improve our own analytical skills or problem solving skills, and let the AI just speed up that process. So that is really the mindset of how programmers should use these AI tools. So here are sample guidelines. No, this is not specific to different fields. No, but this is through my experience and the available resources online to really make most of these technologies. So number one, no need to be polite with LLMs. So no need to say hello, good morning, can you please? No, there are studies that shows that uh, the more strict you are, maybe I would not say to use curses, no, but there are instances that actually these large language models may provide you with better results if you are more strict with it. Okay. The number two, so employ directives. Be clear on what you want these AI tools to do. No, you can say explain, simplify, elaborate, fix this code, generate code. So you start with a verb. So again, start with a verb to tell these AI-based tools to really what you expect it to do for you. Then you can assign roles, no? And you as the audience, you can tell this language models nga. I want you to become an expert of this field, but I want you to explain it like I am 5 years old. Diba? That is a strategy to present complex information, no, in a way that is digestible to you as a new programmer, no, or a new person in the software discipline or field. Then number four, set the context, the topic, or the area of the study. So you can inject that, no, so that ChatGPT, Gemini will be able to generate better results for you. So later on, we'll have an example on that. So number five, follow prompting patterns or techniques as they evolve. So there are a lot of techniques that will be available, no, as new versions of these AI tools comes out, no. Uh, Again, the internet is your friend. You can search blogs to help you improve these prompting patterns, and additionally, no, uh, uh, try to improve your instructions, revise it as needed, and adjust the ordering of the words because the logic, the context, no, really impacts how these AI based tools generate the results for you. So a simple way, not to tell, example, this chat GPT, no, to create a code for you. So you can just be straightforward, create a simple Python code. So of course, no, if you want to say create a complex Python code, it will generate it for you. But our goal is a readable and simple as possible. So you tell ChatGPT, create a simple Python code that will, or whatever problem that you want to solve, no? Then another way, no, to really help you improve, no, as a programmer, so is to not really rely with everything that is generated by ChatGPT or these technologies. So don't make it your brain ba. I mean, kanang murag you are giving up your intelligence, your skill. So this technology are present for us to be productive, but also to teach us, to explain us in a way that it is easily understandable to us for our improvement as well, no? So once it generate the code, no, you can tell, please explain the lines of code so I can understand it better. No, the goal is for you to learn programming, no, as a new programmer. So of course, if you have if you gain more experiences with programming, so you no longer need to have these tools to explain the codes for you, no. So kana siya can be gained through repetitive nga programming on real projects. But as a newbie, so let the tool explain the codes for you so that you know what those codes really meant, no? And how you can customize it depending on your needs. So here is another example, no? So you are already programming and your code is not running, how ChatGPT can help you, nor other AI tools. So you can use this template given the Python code, fix the code below. So of course you need to paste the code and paste the error so that ChatGPT will know how and where to fix it. So again, there are limitations, no? Don't paste code kanang mulapas na siya og thousands of lines. So just paste the important parts of the code. No? Only the parts with an issue. So don't paste a whole book. No, no, we have a limitation man to the number of text that you can paste or the documents depending on your subscription. So now that we have an idea on how to use these AI tools, so let me introduce to you pair programming. So pair programming is a practice that exists before AI. So basically, you can have two programmers to work on the same computer, no? So in tandem, providing real-time feedback, suggestions, improvements that can help improve overall code quality. In a business perspective, this is costly because you're hiring two people, you're paying two people to solve one problem. So that's where AI comes in, no? So we can leverage these AI tools to become our pair programmer, no, at a very low cost or maybe in a free, no? We can use free versions of ChatGPT or free tier, no? So we have this integrated in Colab, or you can copy paste, no, through ChatGPT or Gemini and other coding platforms. I mean, AI platforms for coding. So an important note, no, before we end this lecture. So always remember that you are the human being. No, you are the expert of your domain, your field. Always scrutinize the accuracy and the quality of responses. Number two, so we use these AI tools to improve our overall productivity, but not as a cover up for our lack of knowledge. Kana bang, I mean, I will just use ChatGPT because I don't know how to code. It exists for you to use, no, and to help you learn actually. So it is already available. We cannot force, no, as instructors for you to not use it. Basically, I myself recommend you to make use of these resources to help your skills. No, although you're an engineer, but the programming experience, I mean, the programming skills is a very important skill nowadays because you are competing with high schoolers with elementaries that already know how to code. So imagine, in a graduate ninyo, you don't know what technologies will be presented in the future. And even seeing graduates, no, you can create designs. No, you can create schematic diagrams or whatever names that you use on these technologies. No, mechanical engineers, you can use these AI tools, no, to generate these things. But again, you are the expert, and these tools are used to improve your efficiency. Then AI is not a solution to everything. Again, it is just a tool. So you the person is the one to ideate, no, to create ideas, and this AI will just guide you through the process. And since these are just software programs, so it may provide you with inaccurate information. So it's very important to really find reliable resources if you are still new in the field. So number 5, don't paste your photos, no, your personal information, your love life. No, it's a separate story. No, however, with the prevalence of technology, there are certain people who are talking to these AI tools as if these are their best friends or their lovers or whatever. Use these technologies for your productivity, no, not as your life companion or whatever. Okay, there are studies that really impacts your mental health back. And maybe the companies might be using your personal information. We don't know, no. Then number 6, do not misuse this technology. We only use AI tools for programming, no. So AI is powerful, but don't misuse it in an unethical manner. So be professional, make use of this technology to benefit the society, no. So in summary, these technologies are just very complex mathematical models it uses multiple statistical formulas underneath, and these were trained on a very large data being sourced from the internet. No, just to simulate how human brain works. However, because of the the rudimentary form of this data, no, it can be vulgar, it can be whatever. So that presents, no, the bad things that these technologies can generate, no, inadvertently. So next, prompt engineering is a way to optimize how we instruct these technologies, no, to generate more accurate and relevant responses, unlike searching the internet, searching Google, no, that might be taking us more time. Then pair programmers, it employs you as a programmer and another entity. It can be a person, it can be an AI to really collaboratively solve something. Solve a problem, no, on a same computer to get higher quality code. And then lastly, you can really leverage these AI tools to serve as your virtual or your digital programming pair. So again, so I hope you provide time, no, to help improve these slides, no, for you and also for future engineers as well that will be benefiting on these lectures. So thank you so much for listening in this slide. So I hope again you make most with the resources that we, your instructors, are providing to you.